Well, it's been a while, been a long while, and I wanted to do an update. It's actually been over a year since my last podcast. And while I wanted this podcast or I'd planned on this podcast going on hiatus while I was making my movie, I'll talk more about that in a minute. That's actually the last time that we talked. I was talking about pre production of my movie. It was over a year ago. Today is August 2024, and I shot a feature film last summer in 2023. And that's right about the time of my last podcast episode, which again is hard to believe. Now, I haven't been totally gone, although I've been working on the movie nonstop. I have been updating my iPhoneographer's YouTube channel on a regular basis. This summer, I'm taking a little bit of time off. I'm doing every other week instead of every week like I normally do, but that's another story. And I have posted a few videos since the movie on my Blake Calhoun YouTube channel. And I talked about the camera and stuff I used and some behind the scenes. But as far as the podcast goes, it has been pretty quiet over here. And my plan going forward, once I get back into the swing of things here, once the movie wraps up, and I'm going to do an update about that here in just a minute, I'll get back to my regularly scheduled programming, as they say, talking about mobile filmmaking, indie filmmaking, iPhone filmmaking, etc. So today's episode is going to be a little bit all over the place. It's more or less just an update, but I also wanted to talk about how I ended up using my phone a lot more in my movie, in my feature film, than I ever thought I would. And again, I've touched on that in some videos on my YouTube channel, but I haven't talked about it here. And I've actually learned even more and used even more since those previous videos. Because one thing that I've done is a ton of pickup shots along the way. And the main reason I was able to do that and make it look really good is because of the iPhone 15 and Apple Log, iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max and Apple Log. Now, of course, again, right now is August 2024. And just a couple months, the iPhone 16 will be coming out. And so we'll have a whole nother world of discussion around that. But man, the iPhone 15 for me has been incredible. I guess I say this every year, but it really has been the best iPhone I've ever had. And again, it really circles back to Apple Log. It's pretty incredible what we can now do. The main thing, of course, is you don't have to worry about dynamic tone mapping. And then Apple also turns off or turns way down, turns the sharpening way down. Those two things alone make that footage really look great. And I was able to match it in my film that we shot on a RED Komodo. And I used it again a lot more. Originally, I was just using it for insert shots, like macro stuff. And I did do that. And I made some videos about that. And I showed using Filmic Pro. But again, a lot has changed since then because now I don't even use Filmic Pro. I'm using primarily Blackmagic. And that's been a huge change for me. And I don't know about you, but if you use your phone to shoot video, I never thought I would quit using Filmic Pro. And of course, that all started when they went to subscription. They were sold to Bending Spoons. And then that all basically fell apart after about a year or so, and they disbanded the original Filmic Pro group. I'm not super impressed with how Bending Spoons operates. I'm outsider looking in, so I don't know the inner workings, but didn't really work out very well. Largely due to Blackmagic, though, I think, because that app came out of nowhere, is free, and now in particular, because it's been updated a lot, it's better than Filmic Pro in most every way. And so that's been a huge change since the last podcast as well, because I was diehard Filmic Pro for 10 plus years. And I still really respect that app and love that app for what it did. But now we're on to a different world with Blackmagic, and then other apps have come out along the way too, but nothing is near Blackmagic. A lot of apps like the new Final Cut app or Kino from the Halide guys, they're nice. They're not professional. There's an argument to be made whether an iPhone app is professional at all, and I get that. But as it relates to professional apps within the iPhone category, meaning manual control and shooting ProRes, for instance, and then of course Log, you just can't beat Blackmagic. And again, I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent here, like I thought I would, because I don't really have a script on this particular podcast, more of an update about what's been going on. And that's been a big thing in my mobile filmmaking world, is switching to Blackmagic, and then how incredible the iPhone 15 Pro has been. And I am very excited about the 16, although I have to say, if I didn't run an iPhone channel based on mobile filmmaking and mobile video, where I really have to update every year, I probably wouldn't update. It's been that good. Now, again, I don't know what's going to come out with the 16, but I can't imagine it being that much better. They always make incremental updates, which is awesome, but yeah, the 15 Pro has been great. So let me jump back to the movie now for a second. And making movies takes a long time. If you've never made a feature, it takes at least a year or more. We shot my film in June of 2023, and now it's August 2024, and it's still not done. We're 99.9% done, though. We're actually doing the final sound mix this week. Now, the movie's been edited for months. I would say probably 6 months it's been edited, maybe even longer. However, you always go in and refine that edit, and then you have so much other stuff to do along the way. And I'm going to make some more videos about this too, probably on my Blake Calhoun YouTube channel more than my iPhone channel, because I think it's interesting and could help you guys that want to make a film, whether it's a short film or a feature, understand, kind of the process. Because while there's a lot of information out there, a lot of people, in my experience, haven't actually made a feature. They're really talking more about YouTube stuff, which is great and fine. I love making YouTube stuff as well. But making a feature is just another animal. And in particular, when you're doing it so low budget like I did, and in a lot of ways, DIY. And that's one reason this has taken longer than I probably wanted it to. I really wanted it to be out this summer. And when I say out, I don't mean out for people to see yet, because we have to shop it around. We're going to try the traditional distribution path at first. If that doesn't work out, we're going to probably do DIY distribution using aggregators like FilmHub or Bitmax. If you don't know what those are, they're basically companies that will take on your film non-exclusively and then license it to places like Tubi and Amazon and Apple TV, etc. And they take a commission, like a 20% commission, but it gives you the ability to get your film out there. Now, again, we are going to try traditional first and then see how it goes. And I'm also going to enter a few film festivals, but these days I'm not really that interested in festivals unless you're supporting a local festival in your city or town, wherever you may live, or you try the bigger ones. And I did try Sundance and South by Southwest this last year. I entered Rough Cuts, work in progress, and I didn't get accepted. I knew I wouldn't, but you've got to try. It's really more like hitting a lottery, of course. But beyond that, I haven't entered anything, but I'm going to. I'm going to enter some local ones and some that I like, if for no other reason, just to see it in the theater and support the festivals. Because again, I think with most films today, you just want to get it out to the world, and more than likely on streaming. And again, mine's an ultra low budget film. I DP'd it and I wrote it and directed it, but I had a great cast and I had a great crew too. But post has taken a while, partly, as I mentioned, it was DIY, and partly just because there's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. So I was also the colorist, and doing the color correction probably took about 6 months. And that sounds like a long time. But when you are color grading a movie, it's not like doing a corporate video. You are going in and fine tuning every element. You're using power windows to lighten people's faces. You're changing colors. You're adjusting the sky. You're sharpening images. You're doing all kinds of stuff that just takes a long time. And so it can be really tedious, but it can also be a lot of fun. So I was the colorist, and then I also did a lot of visual effects. I didn't do them all. We had to farm out quite a bit of the work. If you don't know what my movie is, by the way, well, it was called Casey's Favorite Song. And it's about a kid in the 1980s making a mixtape and trying to adjust this new town that she's having to live in. But we've changed the name to Casey Makes a Mixtape. It tells you exactly what the movie's about when you hear it. There's so much competition out there in the world right now that I don't want people to have to struggle and understand what the movie is. I want them to see the poster or see the name and be like, boom, that's a movie about a kid making a mixtape. And that's what it is now. But at any rate, it's set in the 80s, and we shot it, of course, in this century, We shot it in modern times, so to speak. And so most of the visual effects are removing modern stuff. And it has been a huge endeavor, huge endeavor. Taking out cars in the background, website addresses, phone numbers, people, you name it. And so tons of rotoscoping, tons of painting stuff out of the image. And it's required a lot of work, and I've learned a lot. I've done a ton of rotoscoping now myself using After Effects, using what's called the roto brush. But then I also hired again out to some friends and freelancers to do a lot of the work. And we end up actually having to hire a company out of India to do some really hardcore heavy lifting on some rotoscope, where the camera's panning and tilting and characters are walking through it. And there was cars and stuff outside of a window that I didn't see when we were shooting that just had to be eliminated. And it was just beyond my ability for sure. And then even the freelancers I was using, it was a little bit above their skill level as well, or maybe not above their skill level. They just are more creative guys. And this was really more just hardcore rotoscoping, going in and rotoscoping characters and painting stuff out. But the cool thing is it all worked out and within a reasonable budget, truth be told, for the visual effects. And I think we had at least 100, maybe more shots in this movie, maybe 150 shots when you really get down to it. And again, I was able to do a lot in-house, which saved some time and money. So the movie is, again, almost done. We're going to be shopping it very soon. And then I will have updates either here or on my Twitter page or YouTube channels, etc., about when it will actually be released. And I'll get a trailer out and a poster, etc. Again, it's called Casey Makes a Mixtape. And then the last thing I'll talk about today, and I mentioned briefly about the iPhone 15 and Apple Log, and originally I was doing macro insert shots, and that is what I did. But ultimately, I ended up doing entire pickup shots with the phone. And I own a lot of different cameras. If you follow me, you know I own a Blackmagic camera, a Pocket 4K. I own a Sony FX30 and a couple other Sony mirrorless cameras. And so I could have used those cameras technically, but I just found what we were doing, the phone was much easier and more handy to use. And it mainly revolved around shooting a kid riding a skateboard. And so that made it so much easier to get unique shots, get down close to the skateboard. And then also we did a lot of shots with her driving in a car, and I was able just to shoot with my 15 Pro. And not only does the footage look great, but you have great stabilization. You've got ProRes, you've got Apple Log. And once you color correct that, I was able to match it in with RED Komodo, no problem at all. I mean, I don't think anyone will ever know. The iPhone shots, a lot of them we shot wide. And so one of the bigger giveaways shooting on mobile is shallow depth of field. You just can't compete to the larger sensor of traditional cameras. And we didn't use cinematic mode because you can't shoot ProRes, and that cutout is still not good. It's fine for social media or, YouTube stuff just in general, but I don't want to use it probably in a movie yet. Corporate video, I'd probably use it there, especially for B-roll, and I have, but in a film, I'm not using it yet. So long story short, the iPhone worked out great, and it allowed me to get some shots that I couldn't get, and it saved a bunch of time and money. And so I can't recommend that enough to people, and don't be afraid to use it. I know I preach that quite a bit on my YouTube channel, and I'm usually talking to mobile type video guys, but here I'm talking to those guys and to traditional filmmakers. Do not be afraid to use your iPhone in professional productions, especially for second unit or insert shots, because it can work amazingly well. As a matter of fact, there's one shot in the movie that I shot through my windshield while I was out of town earlier this spring. I needed a shot of a country road and we were driving through Mississippi, and I just pulled my iPhone out. I thought where we were looked perfect. I've been looking for a stock footage shot to use, and I hadn't really found one I liked. So I shot it with my iPhone and Apple Log, and actually used the native camera app, and that ended up in the movie, and it looks really good. So once the movie's out, I'll do some breakdowns and I'll go back and show what is iPhone and what is not, and, kind of have fun with it and see if people can pick out what is what. But the main point here is, yes, I made a feature film. We did spend a decent chunk of money. It was SAG ultra low budget, a micro budget film in Hollywood eyes for sure. However, it's amazing what you can do with the tools we have at our disposal now. Again, whether that's mirrorless cameras or iPhones or even a RED Komodo, that camera was $6,000. And in the scheme of things, that's extremely cheap. So again, I'm planning to get this podcast going again, hopefully monthly episodes, if not every other month. I enjoy these long form conversations, and so I do kind of miss doing these. And this one today is audio only. So if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on YouTube, there's no video component, but that takes more time when I have to do B-roll, etc. And again, right now, time is pretty tight. One last little update. Now I'm actually working on a documentary about the 90s kids TV show Wishbone. I was hired, this is a work for hire job. I was hired to DP it, and we shot that about a month ago or so. And now we're in post-production, and this will take us about 6 months to maybe up to a year as we're doing a feature-length documentary. And if you don't know what Wishbone is, it was a huge hit show in the mid-90s on PBS, and pretty remarkable how they pulled it off. It was shot on 16 millimeter, high production value, especially for the time, and the show has really held up. And so we've interviewed a lot of the cast and crew, and we're basically telling the story how this group of pretty much inexperienced cast and crew were able to pull off this TV series for PBS and win a couple of Emmys. So it's a pretty cool story. Again, I am involved from a editorial and a cinematography point of view. I'm not the director or producer, but I know him pretty well. He actually helped me produce my movie, Casey Makes a Mixtape. So that's it for today, guys. As usual, get out there and make stuff. Use your phone, use whatever you want. Don't wait to create. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the next episode, hopefully sooner than a year.